Hello there, and welcome to Dauntless, the Awakening update. I am checking in with this game again after a few years of not playing, because I heard that this Awakening update not only resets progress, but also has completely screwed up the game for a lot of people. A lot of people just don't have good things to say about this update. So I checked back in, I've played a few hunts, and I've sort of come to my own conclusions, and my own conclusions are a little bit different to other people's conclusions, I think. So, in a sec, I'm going to show you a few things that have changed, and we'll sort of get into what I think this means for the game going forwards, basically. Now, the first thing that I wanted to talk about that's changed, and I think it's something that a lot of people noticed when they first logged into the game, is the weapons. Now, what you're seeing here is 2 out of the 3 swords available in the game right now. Now, this is kind of the same for all of the weapon categories. I've unlocked most of the weapons here. Because I was a returning player, they gave me a bunch of currency to buy a bunch of stuff, and I did already have some weapons that would carry over. But they've stripped out like most of the weapons in the game. What this basically means is you're not really getting weapons from defeating behemoths anymore. To begin with, I was kind of like, ooh, okay, like what am I grinding for then? But it sort of started to make more sense to me when I realized what they'd actually done. And what they've actually done is they've basically just stripped out all of the generic weapons in the game, i.e., like your basic fire sword that doesn't do anything special, your basic other fire sword that doesn't do anything special. In a lot of scenarios, the only difference between different weapons would be the cell slots on them. Cell slots go into making your Slayer's build. You would like put a cell onto a weapon, and it would give you perk points towards leveling up a specific perk. Things don't really work that way anymore. We'll get into that a bit more in a second, but the cell slots are gone, and so are the like normal weapons. All that's left is the unique weapons, and I think they've added some new ones as well. People can correct me if I'm wrong, because as I say, it's been a long time since I last played. But all the weapons have unique effects. All the weapons have unique abilities now. A lot of what was lantern abilities has been moved onto weapons in a way that thematically fits them, basically. In a lot of ways, like, each weapon is a lot more unique than it was before. There are less of them, but they're a lot more unique. This actually makes me very excited for the future of weapons in Dauntless, because think of all of the cool things that they could add, and how much more impactful those additions are going to be. So, moving on to something I touched upon briefly, cell slots. Cell slots are now only on armor, and from what I can tell, there are less of them as well. A lot of people don't like this because they think it's killing their build diversity a little bit. The way that like the perks actually work has also changed. So instead of getting different levels of a skill, like say on the right there you see evasion, you used to be able to get like I think it was like 3, maybe 2 or 3 levels of evasion, and each level would be more powerful than the last. Whereas now it's just 1 level, and you just have to hit the certain number of points in that skill to activate it, basically. So I think it's like I can't, it's very small for me on the screen right now, but I think it's like 6 out of 6 points it'll say, and all you need is 6 points in evasion, and then evasion is active. What this has basically done is it's streamlined the skill system or the perks system, and I think it has made it a lot more simple, and I think a lot of people don't like this, which I can appreciate. So I do get where you're coming from, but I personally actually think there's something quite nice about the simplicity here. I didn't like overcomplicated builds. There were a lot of builds in the game that just straight up broke the game. in old Dauntless. I'm sure they still are in this one, but like, at least back when I was playing, it was possible to just chain stagger behemoths until they died. You probably still can do that, I guess, but it was so easy to make a build that could do that so easily. And I don't know, I think simplifying it a little bit has just kind of made it A, easier to digest, and I think B, it's gotten rid of some of the power creep a little bit with how like crazy some of these builds were getting. I think. I don't know for certain. I haven't been playing for a very long time since this has gone live, but like from what I can tell, it's going to be harder to get those like all-encompassing builds online. You sort of have to pick a lot more carefully. So yeah, even though it's more simple, I think there's a lot more like choice having to be made here. The one downside I would say is that now that you have two weapons instead of one, it's kind of difficult to build for both of those weapons because you don't actually have that many cell slots to like slot skills in for it. Just showing you some of the transmogs right now, by the way, what you'll notice is all the old weapons that were removed from the game have just been moved to transmogs now. You can still use those skins. I personally actually don't really see the point on the weapons because I think the unique weapon skins, for the unique weapons specifically, were always very good. And they were always a step above any of the other weapon skins anyways. So I kind of don't really want to engage too much with that transmog system. I'm sure there'll be other people who love it though, so I'm glad that it is still there. Armor transmog is still fully a thing. You can fully transmog anything that you like as long as you've either got it from a battle pass or the store, or you've spent a little bit of this weird green currency to unlock it. Now, we're about to go on to a hunt. This is kind of like the map selection screen, I guess, because everything is like a hunting ground now. You just sort of hunt until you're bored of it. You'll notice that the main quest is directing me towards the Reach and the Crystal Sorrow. These quests are actually too difficult for me. And what you'll see here is, so this one, Iron Falls, is saying it's too easy, basically. It's not too easy, it's just easy, which means it's not giving me a huge amount of XP for completing it. The problem is the next step up is too hard for me. Everything is one-shotting me, and I'm barely dealing any damage in this one. So I either go super easy or super hard. Super easy isn't rewarding at all, but super hard is frustrating. There's no like in between, like for me to like sort of like progress a bit more smoothly, which is very annoying. So I'm sort of forced into doing these low-level missions until I can level my gear up enough to get to the next bit. And obviously, there's only so much repetition until I get bored. Like, I've hunted these monsters like a million times now. You won't be able to tell from my gameplay footage, trust me, especially when I get onto the Skarn, but yeah, I don't know. This is one little grievance that I have, and I really wish that there was like a middle ground between the two maps. Another little grievance that I would say that they still haven't done anything about. When I'm queuing in solo, I don't really understand why I'm having to wait on a timer. I'm not like waiting for other players to join, so I don't know. In terms of the actual hunting process, Dauntless is still Dauntless. I think the aesthetic of the game is still wonderful. I think that the character animations and things like that are all wonderful. It still has some glitchy bugginess to it. I can't remember if anything particularly glitchy happens in this particular video, but make no mistake, it is still a very glitchy game. It's not like completely broken by any means, but it is definitely glitchy. So you're about to see me go to work on this Nasher with the sword. This is probably the weapon that I'm a little bit more proficient with. As I say, I had not played for a very, very long time, so you'll see me miss a lot of swings. You'll also see me not being very optimal in how I'm utilising the weapon, unfortunately. but I do demonstrate each of the weapon's main abilities, I think, at least once. So, so yeah, this Nasher is like the sort of the introductory monster in the game. In the original version of the game, you hunted this thing in the tutorial. It was like the very first thing that you saw. Um, I'm just activating what used to be a lantern ability here, I believe. Or maybe? Might have been a lantern ability, I'm not too sure. But it's on this sword now. I know this sword didn't used to be able to do that. um, so, you know, that's just one example of how the weapons feel more unique, basically. Um, One thing that I don't like about the sword, and I don't know whether the devs are ever planning to change this, but the only hit of the sword that gets your special meter up is the final hit. And that's really annoying because, like, the combos can be kind of long and the behemoths can be kind of jumpy. Don't get me wrong, like, you know, I can fill it up okay, but you'll see there, like, I'm staggering the behemoth out of range of my sword's final hit. And the final hit is the only thing that really matters. I really wish that they would change it so that every hit gets the meter up, maybe just to a smaller degree. Because the way it is at the moment, I'm barely even getting to use my special. And when I do use my special, it kind of comes at inopportune moments. And when I'm like, oh man, I could really have done with that, it just isn't there. Because, you know, like, you'll see, like, I'm having to dodge after, like, the second or third hit of every single thing, because otherwise I'm going to get hit. And it's quite frustrating. You'll see me lose patience in a similar way when I switch out to my second weapon later. And you'll see the gameplay gets a lot worse as a result. But, like, a lot of the weapons have this kind of, like, final hit mechanic. It's like you've got to finish a combo to get anywhere. And as I say, I really don't like that. I really think they need to rethink that entire design philosophy around the weapons. Because the final hit is not always the easiest thing to hit. And when you're evolving your gameplay around all these different special meters that require those final hits, it can be a bit frustrating, and it can kind of almost feel like you're being forced to try and play in a way that isn't comfortable. Like, you'll see me here, I'm going to activate my special, I think, in a minute, just to sort of show you that, but afterwards I'm going to switch to a hammer, because that's a lot more efficient against this particular behemoth. But you'll see, like, I've activated my special, and immediately I'm getting a bit more impatient, so I'm sort of getting hit by everything, because I don't want to waste it. And this weapon has lifesteal when it's in its special. It unfortunately also drains your health, so it's kind of like, need to be striking quickly, which actually ends up getting me hit more often than not. So now we're going into the hammer. Again, the only real hit that matters here is the final hit, because that's what summons the little lightning turrets, and that's what does the bulk of my damage. The problem is the behemoth almost always will dodge and move out of the way before I can get to the end of a combo. It's not that the game is hard as such. Like, I mean, I could take the behemoth down very easily, probably hitless as well, if I was just being more patient. But it's almost like the game emphasizes that final hit so much that I'm almost being encouraged to be impatient, because I'm not really getting anything if I don't do that final hit outside of, like, a little bit of damage. So yeah, I don't know, that's maybe a bit of a personal rant, and I think that's kind of been in the game for a while. This isn't exclusive to the new update by any means. But nonetheless, I figured it was worth mentioning, because it is just something that annoys me. I think that is all I hunt in this particular video. I think I'll go back to town in a minute. You'll see, so you see the unique effects of the hammer though. Whenever I do the slam down attack, it plants a turret, and those turrets shoot the lightning balls. I think that's, like, really awesome, and I think the idea that each weapon that comes out from now on is going to have those unique effects is really going to be the difference maker from what is Dauntless and what was Dauntless. It's one of the changes that I genuinely think that they should stick to their guns on. I really do think that they should make sure that the unique weapons are the only weapons. I genuinely think that was a good move. I know a lot of people disagree because they grinded for ages to unlock all the different monster weapons and stuff, but I genuinely think in the long run, this is going to be better for the game in the long run. Unfortunately, there is some bad stuff to say about the weapons, and that is how you acquire them. What I'm about to show you is the weapon store. You need weapon tokens to buy the weapons. And how do you get weapon tokens? You get those by spending money. I don't know if there is any way to earn these without spending actual cash, but this is a bad way to do things. With the weapons being more unique and the perks being more impactful, this is falling into pay to win territory because there are going to be weapons that are stronger than other weapons. I think they need to rethink how they're doing this very, very quickly, or at least give weapon tokens for free if they're not already doing that. It's possible they are. You'll see I have weapon tokens. This is because I was a returning player, as I said. They gave me a bunch of currency to make up for the lost monster weapons, I believe. I think that's why they did it. But this is genuinely not a good way to do this. I think that the unique weapons are a great idea. Making it so that all you're doing is selling them is not a great idea at all. Focus on armor cosmetics, genuinely. People will buy those. The other way to get weapons is through the battle pass. Each battle pass, from what I can tell, is going to have a weapon at the beginning of it. You buy the battle pass, you get the weapon. But this amounts to the same thing that I was saying. It's literally paying for power. It's paying for unique things that should be earnable in the game. They really, really need to backtrack this one. Like, I cannot emphasize enough how much they need to not do this. This will kill your game. If the only way to get interesting things is to spend loads and loads of money, then people are not going to do it. You need to give people something in order for them to give you something back. That's how it works. I do think, like, if they do work all of that kind of stuff out, that this could be genuinely a good step. You still have all of your old progression systems in full swing. This is the Slayer's Path. It looks quite overwhelming. If you're a returning player who's forgotten what they're doing, it is overwhelming. But if you're a new player, it'll start you at the bottom and you'll work your way up, unlocking each thing as you go. I haven't done all of them yet myself. Obviously, as I say, I haven't played enough really to fully max this thing out. But yeah, you have a lot of like different progression systems at work here. You get more healing, more XP, more power with different weapon types, different craftables, so on and so forth by progressing up that tree. You get the currency to do that, I believe, by completing quests and by completing bounties, which are like your daily kind of quests. Yeah, that's about it, to be honest with you. Like, I think that Dauntless is in an interesting place right now. I think the devs need to step back and they need to listen to a little bit of the community feedback. But by the same token, I think they need to hold their guns, hold their ground even, or stick to their guns. That's the expression I was going for. I think the devs need to stick to their guns on some things, but backtrack or back down a little bit on other things. I think that the monetization needs to be rethought slightly, just a little bit, and only in regards to the weapons. I don't really care all that much about the fact that they've added loot boxes. I don't really care all that much about armor cosmetics and weapon cosmetics and stuff like that. They can charge whatever they want for that stuff. That stuff, as far as I'm concerned, could be £1 million per cosmetic. I wouldn't care. It's the kind of thing where, like, if it's not good value, I just don't buy it. And it doesn't matter to me. It's not going to be something that breaks the game for me. But these weapons being locked behind a paywall, that could be a game breaker. That could be a deal breaker. Like, I feel okay about it at this second because the game gave me a bunch of currency when I booted up. But once that currency runs out, how am I going to feel about the progression system? Probably not that great, to be honest with you. Another thing to keep in mind, for people who hadn't farmed out the unique weapons in the game originally, you will be missing a bunch of weapons when you boot the game up. So you won't have access to chain blades, you won't have access to repeaters, you won't have access to fists potentially. You do unlock these quite early on in the quest line. I'm basically at the quest at the moment to unlock the chain blades and the fists, and I've already done the quest that would unlock me the repeaters. But just to start the game out, missing those weapons is kind of a misstep. I feel as though they will probably backtrack on that one. I think they will probably just award you the weapons straight away upon completing training, which is the way it should have been. Because obviously a lot of people have favorite weapon types, and if they can't play them from the get-go, they're going to lose interest straight away. So yeah, I think they will reverse that one. I don't think there's any chance that that's staying how it is, but everything else is kind of up in the air at the moment. And I really hope that they reverse at least some of the weapon stuff in terms of the purchasing of the weapons. If, however, we're just talking about like the game in general, how it is to play, I think it has a bright future, very genuinely. I think if people just stick with it for a while, let the devs cook up some new unique weapons, this could be great. And that's my unpopular opinion, I think. So, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Farewell.